Hi, my name's Jess and I'm an ex-veterinary nurse, and after many years of looking after your furry family members, I have such an array of stories, and several people have said that I should share them. I have of course changed the names of those in my stories, so no animals need to fear that their secrets will catch up with them. Now, in my vet nursing days, we saw quite a few different species of animal. Now this story is called Duncan the Goat. Now, when most people think of goats, they often think of wild goats running up a hillside, unpredictable headbutts and crazy eyes. Well, even though Duncan did have crazy eyes, he certainly wasn't wild. He was the sweetest goat I'd ever met, and he was incredibly gentle. His family had 3 kids who loved Duncan, and he was often let inside by the children whenever their mother had her back turned. Well, one day Duncan was exploring the backyard when he wandered over to the fence adjoining the neighbour's yard. He nudged every fence paling until he found a wobbly one. It was then that Duncan pushed his way through the fence and began to feast on several things he shouldn't have. Duncan had helped himself to a dress shirt on the next door neighbour's clothesline, and he had taken a nibble on every different plant he could get his little goatee hooves on. Duncan's owner was horrified when the neighbours knocked on the front door. I will also note here that this was not Duncan's first cheeky little trip through the fence. This time, though, after being escorted back home, Duncan began to seem very uncomfortable, and soon the family became quite concerned. Now, if you didn't already know, goats fart and burp a lot. It's a normal occurrence because they have one stomach with 4 different compartments, so there is a lot of digesting going on. The issue is that Duncan had so much gas building up inside of him that he couldn't expel it quick enough. Duncan's stomach was beginning to blow up like a balloon. I mean, he would have given the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man a real run for his money. Soon we see a car pull up at the front of the vet hospital. Mum gets out to open the back door, and out pour 3 kids, followed by Duncan. How did they all fit in the back seat? I can only guess that Duncan was laying across the children's legs, or maybe on the floor. He was a pretty big goat. He wasn't a miniature, that's for sure. On his lead, Duncan obediently entered the waiting room with some help from his family. His spindly legs were struggling to carry his swollen abdomen. The rest of the waiting room fell silent as Duncan toddled his little hooves across the linoleum floor, and from the midst of the hush there came a sound. In fact, it happened every couple of steps as Duncan walked. Duncan tooted his little goat butt across the waiting room, his little tail flicking each time. The whole waiting room erupted with muffled giggles as we rushed the tushy tuba out the back and into the treatment room. We could tell from the way that he had blown up that he had something inside him that was not supposed to be there. Bloat can be fatal for livestock, so we had to do something. Duncan had a hug from each of the children, and they left him with us. I've got to say, it's a great honour to be trusted with someone's family pet. You could really see how much they loved him. Every now and then, Duncan would bleat in pain, and so we gave him something to take the edge off. Duncan's horns, a weapon to be respected, became a fantastic help to hold him steady, while we fed a tube down his beady throat. We were able to relieve the pressure by allowing the gas to escape. The sound that hissed through the tube was intense, and boy did the room fill with the eye-watering stench. But the relief on his face was instant, and we felt him relax in our arms. We diluted what was in his stomach and flushed it out as best as we could. We got some photos of the neighbours' plants, and there were at least 2 plants that were toxic to goats. So that was good confirmation for what the vet had suspected. We made a slurry of charcoal and fed it down the tube to try and absorb any remaining toxic matter, and then we removed the tube. We then put him on intravenous fluids to help flush his kidneys. This little bum bazooka finally felt some relief, and the wind he was passing began to quiet down to a dull roar, which is perfectly normal for a goat. Well, I'm pleased to say that Duncan made a full recovery, and after a little stay in hospital, he got to go home happily with his family. Thankfully, the fence was reinforced, and although it certainly didn't stop him from trying, Duncan was never again able to wreak havoc next door.